We're recording. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to be doing matchup of the week as always, and today I'm actually joined by Mr. Steeler Girl, aka B-Man, as some of you may know him as. Would you like to introduce yourself?
What's going on, y'all?
Well, either way, this is something I'm glad to finally get you in. How are you feeling about that 7-2 comeback? Your season was all but over, and you somehow slip into the playoffs. Not just at the 8 seed, but you slip right into the 7 seed. How are you feeling about all that?
I feel like Mike Tomlin right now. I'm where I shouldn't be, and I'll probably get eliminated in the first round. But you know what? We're living.
Yeah, that's actually something crazy, magical. It's a great thing to have in the first season. It's what fantasy's all about. The shit is crazy to say the least. Um, but either way, I guess we can get right into the matchup of the week and who it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be Pussy against Big Yawners to kick things off with. Big Yawners kind of got a free ticket into the playoffs, if we're being honest, by Pussy letting him win. I think he did that on purpose because he wanted to set up the easier matchup. Big Yawners is just beat to hell and back. I don't really think this is going to be much of a fight. I think this is going to be more of a one-sided beatdown. I think it's going to take an absolute miracle for Big Yawners to have a chance in that one.
I'd agree with that, Justin. Look at all those like people like Aaron Jones has been on and off. I personally don't like Aaron Jones this year, and I drafted him in several of my other leagues, and he's just been a bust for me. He either gets 2 points a game or he's hurt and is out the next 3 games. I just don't potentially like that. And Jefferson, same thing with him. He's a star player when he wants to be, but these past couple of weeks he's been injured. Got back last game. Everyone put him on their starting roster, and is out in the next and what like couple plays. I don't watch the game personally, but I know what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, it was quick, and the thing is, last week Big Yawners might have slipped into the playoffs, but his injury situation only got worse. Jefferson dealing with another injury. Aaron Jones still isn't promised to come back. Taysom Hill got hurt early on in the game. Jerome Ford's now questionable, although I don't think that's anything major. The only thing that I'd even argue is keeping Big Yawners in this matchup is the potential for Tyreek Hill to potentially be out. Maybe Keenan Allen deals with an injury here, but yeah, this isn't looking good for Big Yawners, unfortunately.
Yeah, and even with that Taysom Hill comment, just the fact that like Taysom Hill plays two different positions sometimes, like he's kind of a winner bust for me. He either goes out, has a good game, or he gets 2 catches or something. So I just don't personally like who his starting tight end is, and I kind of pass up on looking at him for the matchup of the week.
Yeah. Then looking at Justin likes kids and yourself, I actually carefully considered making this matchup of the week myself. This was a close second for me, actually. Um, the reason being, Justin likes kids and you each have had 300 plus points in 3 of the last 5 weeks, and like I said, you've gone 7-2 since week 6, I believe. And yeah, ever since Justin likes kids actually started setting his team, he's scored 300 points on a consistent basis each week. One of the tougher teams out there, if he actually just sets his team, is his main problem. He's basically like, I don't know what's a team that has horrible coaching right now, but everything else is really good. Um,
The
he's basically
Steelers.
like the 2020 Bears. If he can start setting his team, then yeah, he's a ridiculously good team. And yeah, you've been doing really good yourself over these past few weeks. Um, you're finally going to be, well, I was going to actually put you on this over myself against, well, the pick I'm going to announce in a minute, but I was going to put you here, but then I realized Derek Carr is going to be dealing with an injury. You have fucking Joe Flacco playing as your second quarterback, and I just don't really know how much I can trust that. You got Watson dealing with an injury. Dalton Schultz is dealing with an injury. Not that you'd probably use him because Laporta's been on fire, but either way, you're dealing with a lot of injuries here, and I do think Justin likes kids is probably going to have a significant advantage if he sets his team and actually pays attention with it. But the reason he sucked at the midpoint of the season was just because he had bye weeks to deal with and never set his team. If this team is at full strength like it is now, I think it's very deserving of that number 2 seed.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Looking at my team, I definitely do agree. Joe Flacco's a gamble. He's played good the last 2 games, and I needed somebody new. Derek Carr was getting the job done, I guess, but I need somebody to excel now that I'm here, and I'm hoping that they can do that. And looking up at Justin like kids, I don't know how I feel about a crybaby being his number one QB. Thing that really pisses me off, you know, Steelers did the same thing, except the penalty wasn't on them, and he's crying about it. Steelers didn't say shit. So you know what? Fuck Mahomes. And other than that, his team's stacked, but fuck the crybaby. But that's just my opinion.
That's the funny thing is the player who's actually managing this team. It's pretty much a universally agreed on thing that everybody wants him to lose. Nobody wants this guy to win any playoff games or anything like that. Um,
Honestly, if he beats me and Mahomes throws like 3 picks and gets him like 5 points, I'll be satisfied because any days the Chiefs struggle is a good day for me. So that's just me.
yeah, and on top of that, the Chiefs have been actively getting away with ref ball in every single game this season. If it's not Jawan Taylor getting away with false starts and holding every play, it's something stupid that usually puts the game on the line. Whether you look, it's actually been in probably every game now. The game against the Eagles is the first time that I actually think the ref ball was against them, and then it was against them a little bit again in Buffalo. Even then, I actually don't think it was actually ref ball. I think it was more a matter of the neutral zone, if you're familiar with that. Um, People were kept saying Von Miller kept lining up um, offsides, but he actually wasn't. He was actually lining up a bit back and not actually in the neutral zone, which is what was allowing him to do what he was doing. But yeah, unfortunately, Mahomes cried like a baby. Um,
Yeah, I've ever since Mahomes kind of been not striking out, but doing really well on the Chiefs. I've just been praying on their downfall, and it's really good to see that they are. So you know,
Oh yeah, that's kind of how I am with the pussy guy in our league. He's had a cupcake schedule all season. I've just been praying on his downfall. He's not a bad team. He deserves the number one seed, but with a cupcake schedule like that, it's just hard to not hate him.
I'd agree.
Um, and then we had a very close second too. You mentioned with Dictatorship and Booty Basher. Right now they're looking at the closest in terms of the projections. It's 55% to 45%, only about 8 points off. Um, I actually think Dictatorship is kind of getting uh, beat up by the projection here a little bit. I think his team is way better than that's giving him credit for. Um, Especially because of Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. Granted, that is a lot of what's been making him successful, but Dictatorship's been quietly one of, if not the highest scoring teams since I want to say the midpoint in the season since Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb went on their tear. You can look at the previous weeks. He's had 300 points in almost every one of the weeks. I think there was only 2 weeks since week 8, if I'm not mistaken, that he had under 300 points. He's been ridiculously good all season. Booty Basher's pretty much been boom or bust because most of his team is actually the Eagles with Dallas Goddard, Jalen Hurts. He just has so many people. I guess he did trade away DeAndre Swift, so he doesn't have him anymore. But either way, his team has always been boom or bust this season, and I think that's going to continue here. And I actually think Dictatorship is a lot more consistent and does have the upside to deal with Booty, even if he does hit a boom game. And I think this will be an upset here.
Yeah, I that's this was we were talking earlier, but this would have been my pick of the week, kind of talking back with you. Only because like there's things that I like about Dictatorship's team, there's things I don't like, and then on the other end, like there's things that I like about Booty Basher and I don't like. So I feel like it's very even. Like I had Josh Down. I think I got Josh Downs from you earlier in the season, and then I traded him away to Dictatorship. And the past couple weeks, he's been doing single digits, and he's just not performing as as he was when I traded him. Which I'm glad that I feel like I won that trade. Can't tell you who I traded for or got him, but And he's going against Pittsburgh's defense, and if I know anything about the Pittsburgh defense, it's fair game that it could be really good or really bad. So that's kind of like where like I feel that love and take. So him being as a wide receiver too, I don't love like, but it gets the job done sometimes, depending on who the defense is, and this is a very potential game that this could work out for him.
From what I've noticed, Pittsburgh, when it comes to receivers, have done really bad against wideouts, but when it comes to slot receivers, I've noticed they have been pretty good. Um, you pretty much look at every game. You look at the side Joey Porter's on. That side's usually on lockdown, and whoever's on the other side is usually getting cooked every play. I don't care if it's Patrick Peterson. He's usually getting bullied every play, and usually Minka has to go make up for it if he's not already making up for the lack of running game that was there at the middle point of the season. But Cam Hayward has been severely helping with everything around the board. The fact that the Steelers don't need Minka to play up as much on the run stop anymore, and the fact that Minka can just overall help out on the coverage is just helping everything out tremendously. I don't think this will be a good game from Josh Downs. The past few weeks have been bad. He does have other options. He has Drake London at the flex, for example, but he also has Marquise Brown, who's currently questionable with a tough matchup against San Fran. I don't know if he's going to start either of these players or if this is the lineup he's going in with, but either way, I do think I really like Dictatorship here as a whole. Um, I think
I
Booty Basher
I
has a
definitely
few.
I definitely like Booty Basher more just because I feel like he has start, like just his running back duo, I feel is better with McCaffrey and Henry. Um, Debo Samuel has been going off these last couple weeks, and like especially, and then George Pickens is a give and take. You know, he
Hmm.
sometimes gets and he sometimes gets single digits. So
Yeah, the way I just saw it is I think Dictatorship is just all around way better built. I think Booty has a whole bunch of very heavy hitters, but at the same time they have a whole bunch of very heavy shitters. So I think that's kind of where you're looking at is you're looking at a matter of a big solid squad that's well put together against a squad that's just filled with holes, but also is filled with really good players. But I think overall, like I said, I think I'm leaning towards Dictatorship personally. You said you're leaning towards Booty, so this should be a pretty good matchup. I think where Booty really falls apart, especially, is that defense. His linebackers are atrocious. He has a good D line. He has some solid DBs, but I do think that Dictatorship having guys like Roquan Smith, Levante David, and Bobby Wagner are just going to blow him out of the water, though, in terms of the defense and really help him out.
I'd agree.
Then we can move on to what at least was my matchup of the week pick. Um, it's myself against Toxic Zenpai. The main reason here that I chose this matchup is me and Toxic are actually the two highest scoring teams in the entire league. Now you can say that Pussy might have been number one or Justin Likes Kids might have been number one if they set their teams in these previous past few weeks. But either way, Toxic would have definitely been at least at the four spot, and I still would have been in first no matter what. Um, and overall, I do think it'll be a really good matchup. The main thing that is kind of sucking about this is I'm probably going to be out Jonathan Taylor and my new pickup Ramondre Stevenson. Toxic's now going to be out Justin Herbert probably for the season. He might be out CJ Stroud. That could completely flip how good of a matchup this actually is going to be. Um, it's hard to say for now just because of all these players that are questionable. Toxic's also going to be out Jordan Hicks, who's a pretty good linebacker. Um, so we're each going to be out a significant amount here. It's just a matter of which way some things turn that could make this really high scoring shootout fall to a shit show. Um, I will say my team has been slacking over the past few weeks. I don't know if you noticed. I haven't gotten like 300 in probably 3 weeks now or so. Um, and Toxic had a really bad week this last week where he had a lot of injuries and a lot of players get one. If that's able to repeat, this should be an easy win for me. But what are the odds of that actually happening again? I think Toxic has a lot of potential here. He's one of the more heavy hitters in the league, and I do think this is going to be a big shootout here in general.
Yeah, I definitely do agree. And the one thing that I want to kind of touch back on that you mentioned was his kind of QB room. Like CJ Stroud went down early in the Jets game, er, and Justin Herbert's now out for the season. They just announced that earlier today. So if CJ Stroud doesn't play, he's out of QB, which hurts because I just picked up Joe Flacco. So there's not really much people you can go out there and pick up in an exchange. So it's definitely possible that he could find somebody to replace him, but it's gonna be another thing that could hurt him this week, especially going up against you and your all your studs that you have. Your two-star wide receivers and your two-star running backs. I mean, Kieran Williams came back after his injury and scored 44 points. Like this dude's unstoppable, especially going up against Washington, who's not great.
I love the fact that he's projected 4 more points than Jamar Chase. I don't know if I should love that or be sad about that. Uh, Jake Browning has been playing out of his mind, but I can't deny the fact that Jamar Chase just makes me nervous at this point. Um, yeah, that's something that
Jake
scares me is Jamar Chase each week. But
Jake Browning's proving himself to be a dog, but I mean, some weeks, Jamar Chase is that dog, and other weeks he's not. And I don't know if that's so much Jamar's fault, but it's just not. I wouldn't say it's not working out, but it's not working out the way fantasy managers want. And that's kind of your one could potentially be downfall. But Jamar Chase has that upside of going 60 points, 30 points, and then the other weeks of going 8 and 14. 14's not bad, but Jamar Chase, it's not as
yeah,
normal.
yeah, I just hope he doesn't put up another 5 point stinker here. Something I
I
did
mean,
notice with Jake Browning is he actually passes to his tight ends. Joe Burrow almost never even looks at his tight ends, no matter how open they are. And the thing is, Cincinnati uses quite a few tight ends, so this ball is going to at least two or three more people than it normally would with Joe Burrow. So that naturally is going to be taking a lot of upside away from Jamar Chase. Now, granted, let's assume that Jake Browning is able to keep this offense moving like Joe Burrow was, and they're able to keep going, getting 30 plus points each week. Maybe the touchdown upside's still there, but we'll just have to wait and see on that. Somehow, this offense has looked better with Jake Browning than they have with Joe Burrow all season, which is kind of insane to think about. But
Dude, it's the backup season. That's all this is, man. This is
oh
this this is the NFL script. They're like, you know what they won't expect? Every single backup playing.
yeah, we're gonna injure every single player to hell and back, specifically on Big Yawner's team, and we're gonna laugh as they somehow make the playoffs. But yeah, injuries have been ridiculous this season. It's actually horrible. It's kind of crazy to think about. I was looking at the how whenever you're watching NFL, you see the stats at the bottom of the screen for each position and all that stuff for the leaders of the week. You're looking at the leaders. You're looking at like Josh Dobbs. You're looking at Joe Flacco. You're looking at Mitchell Trubisky. You're looking at Bailey Zappi. Like, what the hell is going on in football right now? It is actually wild.
This
But
this is this is the season where backups prove if they're worth the money. And I don't think Kenny Pickett is. So
I don't think so either. I don't know if the Steelers are going to be turning towards Mason Rudolph or Mitch Trubisky. I like Trubisky obviously because at least they can move the ball, but I will admit he does turn over the ball a lot.
yeah, I was at the Patriots game, and after that first pick, everyone's screaming Rudolph. I'm like, do you really want to do that? I mean, the Jets did it, and they decided to trade a worse quarterback for a bad offense, and they got a worse offense. So I don't know what the Steelers are going to do. But anyway,
Yeah, you kind of got to get pick your poison with that. Um, look at the defensive side of things here between myself and Toxic. I think if Toxic has a chance of winning this game, I think he's going to need to make up a lot of his points with that Cleveland defense. Cleveland's defense has been ridiculously good this season in fantasy. Outside of the week against the Rams, um, they've been ridiculously good every week. Even if they're giving up almost 30 points, they still find a way to get 50 fantasy points somehow. They've been absolutely insane this season, have ridiculous upside, and I think this is Toxic's best chance to beat me if they can outscore my Rams defense, who I'm going to be starting against Washington. Um, I do think my individual defensive players, especially my linebackers, are significantly better than Toxic's. I think he has a better defensive line, though. His defensive line is actually insanely good, especially with Myles Garrett. I'm not too big of a fan of Brian Burns this season. He's been kind of falling off a little bit this season, at least compared to last year. Um, and then his safeties are really good, too. So it's going to be a pretty even matchup when it comes to the safeties, I think. Um, but either way, this matchup from head to toe is looking very even. George Kittle's been on fire. When you look at the tight ends against Travis Kelce, you have the flex spots where you have four guys that could arguably starters on any other roster. These rosters are just so ridiculously good. Kamara against Bijan Robinson and Kyron Williams, James Cook. Um, it's just kind of crazy to think that one of us are going to be eliminated in the first round here. These are two teams that I thought for sure would at least be making it to the Final Four. This might be one of the drawbacks. We might change how the system is in upcoming years, depending on what people think. Because with there being three divisions, there's the 4 and the 5 seed that are probably the best two teams, not winning divisions, and so they're really good and they play each other. Um, so you look at a lot of these matchups where, say, Booty Basher or Justin Lake's kids would probably be the worst team than Toxic, but Toxic still has to play against the toughest matchup. Um, we'll see how people like it in the upcoming years. I'll ask everybody what they think, what changes should be made now that everybody's played the full season. Um, I don't know if you know this too, by the way. We're considering doing a live draft where we might go get a condo or something like that, maybe at Myrtle Beach or something like that. If you were interested in doing something like that, I'll follow up with you guys on more details. Um, but either way, we'll talk about that a little bit later.
yeah. One thing that I kind of overlooked this season because I didn't have him in any of my leagues, but Michael Pittman has been you know, going off. Um, and I didn't even realize that someone literally said like 2 weeks ago, Michael Pittman, and I just remember him being past fantasy leagues. Oh, he's not that good. He's like, what are you talking about? But Michael Pittman has been a great pickup, and not pickup. He's had him I think since the beginning of the season, but he's just been nonstop. So I think that's definitely he could put him in the wide receiver too, and it'd be just as good. I mean, some weeks he's better than Mike Evans, and not in the past couple weeks, but some weeks. And
Mm.
I love how I love his wide receivers, and and as you can tell in the beginning of the season where I had 5 running backs, I traded them all away. I'm more of a wide receiver guy, whether that was a smart move or not. So I just love his wide receivers, and his running backs are good. They get the job done. James Cook has been literally leveling up his level of play these past couple weeks. So and overall I love Tox's team. I love him going in here, the potential that they could all have, and especially OBJ, who seemed like a bust at the beginning of the season, but now that Mark Andrews is out, he's getting more catches, getting more. What's the word I'm looking for? Getting more love, I would say.
Oh yeah, he's definitely getting a lot more involved. Yeah, Pittman's basically what at this point, I would be happy to trade away Jamar Chase for a guy like Michael Pittman for a position like I'm in. Because that's the thing, Jamar Chase is a walking red flag at this point. And granted, Jake Browning has been doing really good, but he's all over the place. That's where my team is really struggling is consistency. I think this is something Toxic does have against me is the level of consistency his team's going to have here. If his whole team isn't getting hurt, I think he has a much better chance to get around 270 to 300 than me. But the problem is I have a really good chance to just put up 400 points for no reason. You know what I mean? I have a hell of a lot higher of an upside, I think, than Toxic, but his team is just a lot more consistent overall. I think it'll be closer than the projections are saying. I think my team is quite over projected with guys like Josh Allen and Jamar Chase, and Kyron Williams. But either way, the team has fallen apart quite a few times, which is definitely concerning. I feel like I'm I guess you can call it the Chiefs because yeah, every other game we're either getting 9 points or 37 points. But
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. You have the upside to go over 300 points, and you also have that downside to maybe even reach like 230 if close to. Um, like it's just your players have that potential of going off, but sometimes they just either they don't get the ball or the defense locks them down, and they have to throw to the other option. And but like Robinson, I like Robinson a lot, but he has that downside, especially being a rookie and being a Falcon. Um,
yeah,
but I mean, overall, this is going to be a solid matchup. Even though the projections have you scored by 30 higher, it's I don't believe it's going to be that far fetched.
yeah, I don't think so either. Hell, I think all it takes is even if say my the rest of my team is winning by that 30, I think a lot of this matchup does come down to our team defenses in this specific scenario because with the Bears being the Bears and the Browns defense being so good, I could easily see them putting up 80 points. Granted the Bears have been playing a bit better, but that Browns defense is ridiculously good and this will be the first major test for the Bears. Um, and I do think overall that's going to be a lot of what keeps Toxic in this. I think the rest of my team will probably outplay him, but even then, there's no promise. But I do think if Toxic were to start losing, I think a lot of this comes down to Cleveland's defense and the Rams' defense and how well they can do. That's pretty much why I made the move ahead of time. My thinking was
Yeah.
Pittsburgh is probably going to stay pretty stagnant this specific week. They're playing against the Colts. The Colts have a pretty good offensive line, pretty good running game, even without John. Well, I guess they don't really have Jonathan Taylor, but um, the Colts are usually able to at least hold their own and stop defenses from scoring a lot of points. So that's why I went for a team that had more upside against a team like Toxic in the playoffs. I figured I'd either be playing him or Dictatorship, two very similar teams with really good upside. Um, but either way, I think that's pretty much it. Is there
Yeah.
anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think we hit the nail on the head today.
Alrighty. Um, I hope you guys enjoyed having Mr. Steeler Girl here for the episode here. Maybe we can get him back on in future episodes, maybe next year, maybe for one of the upcoming weeks this week. If you'd want to do it again, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Um,
Oh yeah, definitely.
Granted, there's only going to be like two matchups for the rest of the season, but either way, Um, the schedule for what things are looking like, just so everybody knows here. I'm going to be doing the hype video for Mr. Steeler Girl and Justin Likes Kids. I'm going to be finishing up the last two episodes of Civil War. I'm going to do the combo episode of WWD. And then from there, I'm going to just follow the normal schedule I normally would. So I definitely have a little bit of work to do when it comes to these videos. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you guys in the playoffs. Good luck, everybody.
All right. Good luck, everyone.